Sunspots, Chapter 2, Part 3. You all clearly haven't slacked in your professionalism all these years. I'm impressed, Borealis mused. I'll be in the next room over. In fact, he walked over and set some small crystals on the table, sticking one of the claw-sized items to his shoulder. Crystal communicators. You can probably adapt your own to tune into the frequency. All that's left to do is let Princess Celestia rest. A familiar light blue doctor poked his head into the portal, looking around in surprise.
Dr. Borealis is... Oh.
The pony murmured, tentatively stepping through.
Impressive. I take it the life support measures won't be necessary?
The hippogriff shook his head, gesturing to the sleeping princess inside the semi-sterile room. Correct, she's cured. At least as much as I can determine. I'd like to keep her here for recovery because your medical wing likely has spores floating around everywhere. Thankfully, that portal is medically certified and kills off any of those things. By the way, you need to increase the airborne antiseptic mixture for sure. It didn't smell nearly potent enough. If it stings your nose, then it's about right. I can get you the exact parts per million measurement within an hour. A small notepad was brought out, the pony scribbling down notes with a nod.
Okay, anything else you recommend?
If you can, please make sure her room is sterile as much as possible. Put high-intensity medical spells over the entrances and ventilation system, and have food sterilized before being delivered to her. Once I move her out of here, we'll need to keep her chance of infection low. Borealis paused, then looked at the unicorn with a sad smile, as the pony finished scribbling frantically on the notepad. You don't have a lot of field experience, huh? The doctor's ears flattened. He shook his head immediately.
Yes, I finished medical school a month ago, just as the outbreak was starting. The older and experienced doctors got sick first, so I've been trying to handle it.
A comforting and gentle pat on the shoulder snapped the pony out of his stressed musings, the other doctor smiling. Well, I'd say you've done remarkably well, fresh or not. From what I saw, it was about as good of a mass casualty setup as any. I'd be more than happy to help you out while the princess recovers. The portal will remain active for as long as it needs to. The guards, of course, will need to stay. A curt but seemingly appreciative nod from the legionnaires met Borealis' words, the hippogriff taking a deep breath. So, I'll get things set here for a temporary situation. Then, I'll join you in the main medical wing and see how I can help.
Thank you, Doctor.
The pony trotted through the portal, and Borealis was left with the soldiers who continued to watch Celestia and himself with an impassive gaze. You can speak, I assume? The hippogriff grumbled, securing and putting away the various supplies and chemistry equipment. Sir. Borealis deadpanned at the soldier in question, letting out an amused huff. Answers that question, at least. I know I am still not to be trusted, so by all means place a magical homing beacon in this room. Or better yet, one of your own portals. I'll be tidying up here and then check on the princess, unless I need to speak to Princess Luna directly. One of the unicorn soldiers nodded, his horn igniting as a communications portal opened in front of Borealis. An armored unicorn stared back at him, and a familiar lunar princess sitting at his side.
Finally! Oh, you must be Dr. Borealis,
Luna remarked, eyes flickering over the large hippogriff in surprise.
Interesting. How's my sister? I just received a report that she is cured.
Borealis bowed his head respectfully, gesturing behind to the sleeping princess. See for yourself. She's resting now, and indeed cured, as far as I can tell. There are guards here too, and they're welcome to set up a more permanent portal to my medical lab.
Which is located?
Borealis looks upwards, and then shrugged his wings. Deep underneath a mountain near the Badlands. I believe she'll be safe to move in a day or two. I assume her elite troops are going to set up a portal of their own, as well as some tracking equipment, of which is completely reasonable. I didn't anticipate having to take her to my lab, but can move her back to the castle once the proper sterilization steps are taken. Luna nodded, seeming satisfied with his answer. Your credentials check out, and from what I understand, our mutual friend sent you. Commander Sands piped up, causing the hippogriff to nod. Correct. I'm assisting in the development of the cure that has been steadily delivered to each province. Unfortunately, my growing plots are limited, so I can't produce the herb in large enough amounts. But yes, our mutual wishing friend sent me. Shifting's eyes narrowed, the stallion letting out a huff. So, why not send us the herbs? Surely we can manufacture it all in bulk. Borealis let out a laugh, trotting over to his bags and withdrawing a purple syringe, the curative liquid inside swishing this way and that. Because, Commander Shifting Sands, the herb in question is a highly addictive painkiller and hallucinogenic in its raw form. It can numb a broken bone in seconds, but, unless correctly proportioned and cared for, will give every creature within breathing distance hallucinations and euphoria. There's a good reason it's highly prized in the black market and sought out in the wild, which is also why I have kept my laboratories hidden and protected. Borealis frowned, looking at the cure again. It's disturbing, really. Individuals who would seek it for their own gain and realize far too late than trying to wean yourself from it is one of the most nightmarish ordeals ever imagined. Like many drugs, to achieve a high, it must be consumed in greater quantities, in which the negative effects multiply. But used in this aspect, its power as an antibiotic and antifungal is unmatched, and if refined in a different manner can serve as a fantastic painkiller. It's a versatile resource indeed. I hope that explanation suffices. I will happily give a plant or two to your scientists along with warnings, but I rid myself of the consequences should it be misused. Shifting's expression changed to that of understanding. Both he and Luna nodded in approval.
You've certainly thought this through.
Luna mused, prompting a chuckle. I've had plenty of time to think it through. I just wish... I had hoped my friend could have been faster in stopping all of this. Thankfully, he did succeed in preventing an organized dispersal of the pathogen, but nevertheless we must deal with the after effects. A sense of tiredness now entered the hippogriff's voice and demeanor, the doctor looking at the pair in the portal. I know you must have further questions, and I'd be happy to prepare a report. But for now, I need to adjust my lab for the princess's stay, and prepare 2 shipments of the plants for transport. Is that acceptable? Both nodded, Luna then letting a smile drift onto her face.
It is. Thank you, Dr. Borealis, for your help. Words cannot fully emphasize such. If you had been but a few hours late...
I'm just glad to help. Luna nodded, closing the portal as the hippogriff bowed his head, then returns to tidying up the lab, the guards continuing to watch his every move. Luna sighed, looking over to her commander with a slightly suspicious gaze.
What do you think, Shifting?
She asked, the exhaustion of the past few days starting to catch up to the alicorn's mental status. Shifting frowned, shaking his head slowly. I think he's a doctor, that much is true. I saw the report sent by one of the guards. He's even written a few books in the Royal Medical Archives. However, he is hiding something. What exactly, I don't know, but at this point we have no choice but to trust him, with reservations.
I think the guards feel the same way. The commander of the Legionaries sent a simple message that they'd continue to watch him too.
Shifting nodded in agreement, looking over the reports spread out on the table in front of them. Good, they picked up on that as well. Sharp as tacks they are. Like the first Witcher's cure, we have no choice but to trust him. However, he did save Celestia, and that has to account for something.
I'd say that accounts for a great deal, but we'll certainly keep him under scrutiny for now.
Watching the guards set up their own sterilization portal, Dr. Borealis made his way to a side room, closing the door and leaning against the wall as a few magical fields sealed the entrance temporarily. A long, tired sigh left his beak, the hippogriff's claws now only starting to shake. It worked. Oh, thank the stars. It worked. He whispered, running a set of green talons through his head feathers. And thank you, by the way, for perfectly dropping the shielding spells before Celestia's magic hit. I was worried you'd get detected. A purple mist congealed and floated in front of the hippogriff, 2 brown eyes looking back at him.
Did you doubt my skills?
The voice remarked, a definite pouty tone to the words, which echoed both the hippogriff's mind and ears. No, of course not, Fori, but I think you underestimate Celestia's abilities.
And I take it the eternal flame is cured?
The hippogriff nodded, his claws still shivering slightly. Barely, but yes, she should be fine. Let the others know as well. I'll be staying here to make sure she's fully healed and perhaps help the city as best as I can. You know how I work.
But this time is different. These past years have been different.
Two tired blue eyes closed briefly, the doctor letting out a sigh. Yes, they are. And I don't think I'll fully comprehend the impact of such. But what can I do but what I've always done? Creatures need my help, now more than ever. And have we figured out what role we play in all this? Another pair of eyes, these ones gray, floated to join the brown ones in the purple mist. A deeper rumbled voice now sounded out.
We finished looking into that.
Oh, nice of you to join us, Lust. And?
There's no direct blame. These events are a natural casualty of the enemy's location. Conflict was inevitable.
Meaning? The deeper voice sighed, grumbling to itself.
The existence of our people by very nature brought us into conflict. This much you knew. As that war began to unbalance, our enemies sought out more power, ergo the current situation.
Oh, thank you. In that vein, I think I'll visit again, maybe within this next year. I've stayed away long enough.
You're coming back?
A peppy voice chirped, two bright green eyes shoving the other pairs aside. Hello, Gotti, and eventually. As Fori said, things are different now, and history will be written. Borealis sighed, massaging his temples. I do not know how to go from here, other than proceeding as I always have done. What else can I do? This is new territory for me.
You must look out for yourself.
The hippogriff's eyes, as well as the two other pairs, widened in surprise. The deeper voice butted in, as two gray eyes rolled to themselves.
What? You've always put others ahead of yourself to a fault. That has been noble and worked up unto this point. But things are now different, and must bring it into balance.
Lust is correct. You have a place in history now, like every creature else. You must act accordingly and not lose yourself.
Fori mused, prompting a huff from the hippogriff. Lose myself, such a negative connotation. I've lost myself in helping others. That is how I've coped thus far. It's not so easy to flip a switch to confront things long buried.
And yet you must. We'll be here regardless. You're a friend. We'll update the others as well.
I need to get back to work, but thank you, friends. The mist vanished, leaving the hippogriff to rest against the cold stone walls, mind churning with the events of the past day. Lose myself indeed. He muttered, standing up to head back towards the medical room. What choice did I have? I would have gone mad if not for that.
Indeed, and yet here you are, sane as can be. We're not saying you must find yourself, Nacreus. You have already done that. Now you have a choice to live as yourself. Do we need to remind you of certain accomplishments? You know who you are, who you want to be. The difference is, now history will know it too.
Gotti's voice made the hippogriff smile, a soft chuckle leaving his beak. I suppose you're right. For the first time in ages, I have that choice, but first things first, let's get the Solar Princess back in her hooves. Soft cheering echoed throughout his mind, and it made Nacreus grin, even as he trotted back into the medical center, beginning to pull out a few devices from drawers outside the sterile room. Alright, Princess, now let's get you hooked up to some monitoring equipment. He quipped, and then glanced over to see the steely gaze of two legionnaires boring into him. What? Do you two want some heart rate monitoring pads too? I've got a few extras. It's so obvious that guy's gonna be a good one. It's not like he's gonna turn into an enemy in the middle of the story, right? Anywho, let's get on to our non-hostile donators. Top donators: Jessie Smith, Star630, BadassWaffle, Onlyonething, Ceru, Orion, and Caladis. Magic, JockeTF, Luciisu, Darkside, Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel, Skies, Austin, Roland, Sword Brother, Mordred, Armorcon, Library, Runesight, Will, Quist, Wiki, Rice, Shadowman, Luigi, Chance, Crust, Big Smoke, Bobcat, Murder, Princess Jet, Little Mighty, Solar Symphony, and many more amazing people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.